football feels to me like it's just beginning to get a bit more physical. And your favourite team, Sunderland, are an example of that. It seems to be a very well thought out plan that's signed big lads and it's steamroller teams, and it's working.
I think it's a different side of the physical. I think years ago we used to love a good tackle, didn't we? And we used to applaud the tackle and used to go, great tackle, even when you put him in row Z.
Yeah.
Now that's completely changed, hasn't it? You can't seem to go into that tackle without being given a yellow card or a red card. But I think teams have thought, you know what, let's go to the upper body. And when I used to referee abroad, I tell you who were the masters if the upper body was the Italians.
Right.
They never went to ground, but they were physically just at corners, set plays, physically strong and block, just the dark arts of the game within the rules, the laws of the game. And they were the master of it. But I'm now seeing it again, especially in the English Premier League. I don't know what Andy thinks, but I'm seeing that upper body, physicality, aerial threat, where probably we didn't see that aerial threat before. We're seeing long throws. Corner kicks have always been in, but long throws.
Turning defenders, playing the ball over them.
Yeah.
And facing their own goal. I think it's a great tactic.
And we're still, we're now seeing, certainly at Sunderland, their philosophy, they sign one or two smaller players, but in reality, they've signed players who are physically ready. And you've got to be, your recruitment have to be perfect because you've got to get them from the right type. You can't have, and I remember having a conversation with Rafa Benitez about the physicality of the Premier League. He said, I can teach a player to play football, but I can't teach him to be physically strong. So you need him physically strong to get him through the door, and then I'll teach him to play football. It's the opposite side to what we used to think is a football fan, because you only have maybe 6 months, maybe even less, to win games of football. And if you haven't got them ready, because we all know, and I, you speak to foreign players when they come to the Premier League, and they used to speak to me. They used to say the Premier League's brutal.
Really?
It's the most physical league in the world because referees always, rightly or wrongly, referees had the laws of the game, but they also had the entertainment on one side because the Premier League wanted to be the best league in the world to watch, which is why it is the best league at the moment because it's faster, the game's played in a better spirit. So referees would allow a little bit more physical contact. What you see in the Champions League, when a foot comes up, it used to be whistled as a foul. In the Premier League, it's play on. And players had to adapt to that. And I think players now are adapting it a lot better than they used to.
What do you reckon, Andy? Do you see it becoming a little bit more physical?
Well, it's interesting you talk about Sunderland because my favourite player in that team is Dan Ballard.
Unbelievable.
Oh, because I
Not for me. He scored in the playoff.
I've followed his career fairly closely because I covered Northern Ireland for a bit. And saw him emerge from after that team that got to the Euros second round in 2016. A lot of those guys went the centre halves of Craig Cathcarts and Johnny Evans, that lot. And Ballard came through, and he was at Arsenal at the time, but he was on loan here, there, and everywhere. And I think he did a season at Millwall. And
that'll toughen you up.
Sorry?
That will toughen you up.
And I remember talking to him, and he just said it's the place for me because that shaped him. But you look at him; he's a proper unit, and really uncompromising. He embodies not what they're about, but what they're about in terms of their physicality. Because I watched that game on Saturday against Chelsea, and I think it was one fairly innocuous moment in the first half, but it said a lot to me where he's come charging forward almost into the centre circle, and there's João Pedro. They've gone for a header. Pedro's took one look and seen Ballard coming in at him like a locomotive. It's totally kind of ducked out of it, and Ballard's just gone straight through, clean header. And it's that kind of character
that's momentum in a game suddenly, isn't it? That gets you on
the physical momentum as well, because he's a big lad. He's coming through. I think he went right through the Matthew Harding standing outside the other side as well. But he to me is, when he scored, because he scored that key goal, didn't he, in the semi-final?
The semi-final against Colledge.
And the celebration, what it means to him, and to have been at Arsenal, to have been, if you like, rejected by Arsenal, and then to have been picked up by Sunderland in the Championship, and then to now be a Premier League player. And he's a good guy with it. And he looks remarkably like my nephew as well, which is another reason why I've taken to him, bizarrely, but that's another matter. He just embodies that. And I watched Sunderland play at Crystal Palace earlier in the season, 0-0 draw. It was a pretty dire game. And Regis Labrise came out afterwards and just said, look, yeah, we've done well here today because we've held Palace at bay. And the goalkeeper for Sunderland, Robin Roofs, was brilliant.
Really.
But he said, we're about that for now, but soon I want to start bringing it on and getting more forward as well. So he's already thinking, this is what we do for now, and we get these points on the board. And what are they on, 17 already? So, they're almost halfway towards them. And he mentioned the Magic 40 himself at the weekend. They're almost halfway there by October. So now they can start to think about what they do going forward, being even more positive. And this is such a great story.
I'm glad you mentioned that game because I listened to it on the radio, and I don't know about you boys, but I think you get an instinct for a team and the momentum by listening to it on the radio. And I thought Sunderland were going to win that game within the first 15 minutes. You just felt like
Saturday's Chelsea.
You hate this.
Yeah,
but honestly, you felt like there was just a strength and a power about them, and you can even sense the atmosphere in the ground. Chelsea fans knew that physically they weren't competing. And I don't know if you get that sense as a referee. Sometimes you can just feel the power in a team that they will, outmuscle somebody.
Yeah, you don't have to be full of superstars. I think Dan Ballard's a prime example. I don't even know if he started the season for Sunderland. I think he missed one or two games. Yeah, but I didn't think he was he wasn't selected. And I think I watched this game on Saturday because I was with a load of Sunderland fans, unfortunately. But it's interesting to watch. You hit the nail on the head. The longer the game went on, and Sunderland was still in the game, you believe that Sunderland were going to win it. But you can see teams that are physical, and that's how the FA Cup was always beautiful, wasn't it? How we loved the FA Cup, because when you refereed a team outside of the Premier League, the only way you could match them was to get physical with them. And I love that.
Having a pie on the pitch or something.
But I love that, but I love that. And I probably that's one thing that I fell out of love a little bit with football since I finished refereeing, was that physicality side of it. I remember being at Derby Day at St James's Park, and Lee Cattermole, after 1 minute, went through I can't remember the midfield of Newcastle, within 1 minute. And he got a yellow card. But you know what? It put put Sunderland on the front foot. And Sunderland, because they were physical, the players were after it, everybody was after it, the fans were up for it, and it just changed the course. You don't see that now.
You mentioned this to me, Mark. Pep Guardiola's just saying that he's having to change his philosophy or his style of play. Arne Slot had a moan, didn't he, the other day? What would you make of that? Do you know, is that sour grapes, or is that actually credit where it should be given to the other teams that have worked out a way to beat tiki-taka?
I don't think all the teams in the Premier League are physical. I think there's teams that are still playing good football. Bournemouth and Brighton, for example. I wouldn't say Newcastle are a physical side. I think what they're finding at the moment is they're finding it more difficult when they play the Brentfords, when they play the Sunderlands, the Leeds, the Burnleys, where we criticise, and we've been on this podcast, and we've criticised Russell Martin at Southampton. Russell Martin tried to play out from the back. All the clubs used to try and play out the back because they all wanted to be Pep Guardiola, the new coaches, and they thought this was the way forward. But actually, the clubs have gone, you know what? If we want to survive, we've got to change our philosophy. And because we're now, how many games in now? 8, whatever we are into the season. And it's working for these clubs. And now a lot of the other clubs are carrying it on because they want to stay in the Premier League. They're getting more physical. The league's becoming more physical, but the top teams aren't getting their own way anymore.
Do you know what's wild, by the way? It's how it filters into grassroots football. You know, I've got a 15-year-old son, and for the last 3 years of his football, I've been watching them the goalkeeper to try and play it out on a bad football pitch, gives the right back a heart attack, the ball's given away and a goal scored. Suddenly, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, that you're beginning to see the long ball creep back in. I definitely think it's because these dads with their sons in the team are watching Match of the Day. It's funny how it filters through.
And I think
it does, Andy. I mean, have you noticed it, Andy? Can you see is there a change happening at the moment?
Well, I think even if you don't see the change in the tactics, you notice that the promoted sides are doing a lot better, and you notice that. You know, you look at the Premier League table and you see, I think Sunderland went second. I'm not sure.
Second.
Yeah.
No, they dropped.
They dropped back down. But
it was a good Sunday.
So, you know, I don't think it's just that. So you go and talk to a club like Brentford, and they'll tell you that a lot of their success. So, you know, Igor Thiago, the striker who's filled the boots where Mbeumo was or whatever, he Keith Andrews will tell you that Waymo was there for about 5 years at Brentford. And when he turned up, he couldn't really speak English, but they were there with him. They supported him. They had patience with him. And as a result, you get that player at the end of it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with Thiago. He's come over and they've been patient with him and they've brought him through. And again, this goes back, sorry to go back to West Ham again, but it shows you a proper plan, what it does. You bring a lad over and you don't just go, right, go and play, go and do this.
Yeah.
You bring him through and you give him that support so he feels, he feels stronger and he feels more confident on the pitch.
Yeah.
So there is that, and the disrupting tactic of the long throw is clearly having an effect. What I can't quite work out is how defenders are finding it so difficult because it's only like a cross.
Yeah.
It's only like a free kick. So, and they've been dealing with those for 20 odd years. So, but it's coming out of someone's hands. Why is it so different?
But are they dealing with that in training? Because when I watch, like, for example, warm-ups, and I'm watching even some clips from training grounds, it's all this 3-4 little triangles, little small-sided games. It's all skillful games, little set plays. You never see, I'm not sure teams are practicing, somebody throwing the balls in like the old, no disrespect to Stoke City. That was Rory Delap up to whoever, Walters, Crouch, whatever. And even if Crouch didn't win it, they want that second ball. Mm-hmm. And that second ball could bring possibly a strike at the edge of the box. So I'm not sure teams are still adapting to the way, for example, and we had this conversation last week. I was at Arsenal in Europe against Madrid, and every throw-in was long from
here's
Arsenal.
the thing,
every throw-in was long.
Does this not mean the refereeing of the game has to adapt? Because you've talked about this before. If the right back's crossing a pitch 60 yards to take a throw-in, it's affecting the pace of play.
It's driving us nuts.
Yeah, that will change refereeing then, don't you think?
It's driving me nuts because I've had this conversation before. I think we've got so much, I wouldn't say time wasting, it's time absorbing, but probably time absorbing, especially on this long throw.
Gamesmanship, isn't it?
It's gamesmanship, but it's also disrupting the flow.
Yeah.
And what you're now seeing is, and I watched it, and I'm not criticising Arsenal, every other team who do long throws are saying it, but I saw it last week, was the fullback's coming in, and by the time he set up the throw, and usually he's took it from the wrong position anyway, so the referee's moved it back, then they've set up the long throw, the centre-halves have come up, the throws come in, it's took something like 20, 30 seconds. I know IFAB and FIFA are looking at how long it's taken these throw-ins. Are you going to stop the long throw? Probably not, because it's still part and parcel of the game. But they are looking at how long it's going to take, very similar to the goalkeeper, for example, 8 seconds, the goalkeeper, 5, 4, 3. Are we going to see that for the World Cup?
Do you reckon, Andy? Would you like that?
Is it a bad thing, though? We're talking about this long throw as if it's like a bad thing on the game.
I like it.
Because who didn't enjoy Brentford beating Liverpool? And it has
Liverpool
an effect
fans.
on the top end of the table, right? Because it blows open the title race. So the fact that Brentford got those 3 points means that Liverpool aren't running away with it, and that Arsenal's now in with a shout. So, it has that kind of knock-on effect that keeps the top end of the table very, very lively if your team can't deal with that. And if it's a weapon that is in the armoury of the teams that they don't have the quality of the bigger teams, but if they can use that, they're playing. Maybe there should be a law introduced where only teams below 10th are allowed to use it.